All right, everybody, listen, we are at the National Self-Build and Renovation Center in Swindon, UK. And as we promised earlier, I know we've been live a lot today. We're going to take you on a little bit of a journey just so you have an idea what it is. It is the end of the day. It wraps up here in about 20 minutes, but it's also good because we wouldn't have been able to get through with the camera and actually show you what's happening here. Why we don't have this here, why we don't have this in the United States is beyond me. This is an awesome place for self-build homeowners, DIYers, for builders, developers to come have a year-long display of what their products are, how they build their houses, the technology that they're using for their houses. And as a homeowner, you can come in here and you can meet with all the different people and make the right decision for yourself. So it's like a mini exhibition all year long. So if you're looking to build a house, I highly recommend you come to a place like this. It is super awesome. We're here with Homebuilding, and they just bought Potton manufacturing as well, which is super exciting. And there's a lot of amazing things here. We have politicians and past and present, I suppose, coming through. But there's so much going on, and the goal of this place is how do we build it better. So Andrew's going to be my cameraman today. So Andrew, let's walk around and show everybody a little bit about what we're doing. So let's come. Follow me, everybody. We're going to walk down here. Let's go down. So that is the Homebuilding's house we were talking about, and we'll end on that and talk a little bit about it. But Andrew, let's walk down this way. And as we're walking, I'll just kind of talk about what we're seeing as we go. So, all right, everybody, welcome back. I know we were just live not too long ago, but this is really important stuff. We're going to be talking about sustainability. We're going to be talking about how can technology, or even will technology, be able to help us solve the housing crisis. And sitting with me today is Simon Coop. Simon's an urban planner, right? You go and you talk to the towns, and you got to deal with all those headaches. Yep. We all know who Steve Baker is. He was just on with us. So if you missed that show, please go back and check it out. And then we also have Brian Murphy, one of the world leading people in sustainability, decarbonizing the world, and helping companies and governments and everybody else figure out what's the best way to do this. So we're going to have a panel discussion on this today, and we're going to start off by doing some brief introductions. So Simon, how about you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you really do?
So I'm a senior planner in a company called Litchfields. We're town planning consultants, and our job is to help companies, particularly house builders, get planning permission for new housing developments.
Steve?
Yeah, I'm a director of Homebuilding, a new affordable volume house builder. I'm really passionate about building homes.
I love it. Brian?
I'm Brian Murphy. I've been doing specification writing or writing recipes for buildings for most of my working life. Now I'm focusing on carbon to try and help architects and designers and contractors and everyone else to get lower.
And you've done a famous library here in London as well.
Yeah, just across the not just across the road. The British Library for £520 million specification of a violet building that doesn't perform very well.
Sure.
For all sorts of reasons, and a few environmental bad choices.
Got it. Well, this is going to be a great conversation, right? Because, Steve, you were in politics for, quite some time. Still involved, I'm sure. It never goes away eventually. What really needs to change, to solve the housing crisis and actually make them more affordable, sustainable, and healthier?
Well, there's a few things. I mean, really looking forward to hearing from Simon about the planning system. The planning system so often gets in the way, and in particular, the public get up in arms. Big developments with enormous numbers of houses just really alarm the public. So we need to deal with that, and also using technology to drive down costs. So the way that Homebuilding deals with that, we're going to build on smaller sites. So that should immediately mean lower concerns from the public. And also we'll use technology. By building in factories, we will have consistent homes built for lower prices, using the latest materials and technologies to make sure they're environmentally friendly, they use the least possible energy. And that's how we'll do it. So we'll play our part in producing homes at great specifications for lower prices. We really need the planning system to change too.
Yeah, so let's hop into the planning system. Simon, one of the things you do for a living is go in front of planning boards, go in front of town halls, city halls. what is the critical issue that you keep running into time and time again as you're trying to help builders and developers, or even a single family homeowner, get their plan approved?
I think there are two key issues. One is the speed of the system. It just takes too long to get planning permission in this country. And then the time it takes from once you've got your planning permission, you've still got more conditions and things you need to sort out. So the speed is a real issue. The other issue is just actually having a planning system that's pro-development and having a planning system that is focused on the benefits of housing and really supportive of delivering more housing.
Yeah, and what are the solutions for that, Steve?
Well, councillors absolutely need to get a grip of their planning departments for a start. I mean, because even with the law as it is, councillors need to make sure that their planning department is performing as they would like it to. And then, of course, government needs to reform the planning system. It's something I had a lot to say about while I was a politician. It was never very popular. But look, the truth is, I'm afraid that the state has far too much control over what happens. What we're doing is offering people the opportunity to customise even an affordable starter home. Now, that's going to mean we have this issue that we talked about earlier. Yeah. The planning system will need to be able to cope with people being able to have either an all brick or a brick and render or a brick and clad house, whatever it may be, with different canopies and so forth. Perfectly reasonable, minor differences between homes, but there'll need to be a degree of flexibility if people are actually going to have the house they want.
Right. I think that's the key, the word flexibility, that if we're going to speed the delivery of housing, we need to have a system that's able to cope with that. There's a lot of research that says that having different types of housing will help boost the market and help speed delivery, but a planning system needs to be able to cope with that difference and that flexibility, which at the moment I think it will struggle with.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Listen, I think a lot of people just struggle with the idea that they think prefab is different. It's not. It's just a process.
Yeah.
It is only a process, and we just put the homes together differently is all it is, but they're better, more sustainable, structural wise. Brian, we haven't gotten to you. I've seen you shaking your head a few times there. But when we look for DFMA, design for manufacturer assembly, we look at, reducing carbon and sustainability in healthy homes. What are you seeing as the challenges, and how do we move this forward?
I think the big challenge is that the vast majority of manufacturers know what they know, and they know the materials they like to use, and they've got their supply chains in place, and they've got to change those because we've got to go to low carbon materials and carbon positive materials. That's a big problem. Just tweaking around with your recipe of steel is not going to solve anything. You've got to switch from plastic insulations to dense wood fiber and a whole variety of other materials that are carbon negative. Yeah. If we don't go that way, we're never going to make any difference. It's just fine tuning, and that's never going to help.
Is it easier to do that in a controlled factory environment versus on a job site where you're relying on deliveries don't come, people can run and buy their own thing, and maybe it's not the right thing, but they got to get the project finished, right?
Yeah, I mean, factory production means an enormous amount of resource efficiency, about work efficiency, working in the dry, making sure that things can be done, and none of this kind of coming home from the pub at lunchtime, after lunchtime, and kind of not being in the best of condition to do a good job.
Right.
You need policing of people. That's just normal practice in some of the industries. So, just much more resource efficient, making sure that things are panelized. If you make something, every panel that you make is the same size as a sheet that is sold, then there's no waste, there's no cutting, there's no off-cutting. 120 million tons or more of waste from the construction industry every year. All of that stuff disappears if you got it sorted in a factory.
And presumably a side effect of that is cost. It will help drive costs down, because one of the biggest other barriers we've got is development viability. Costs in the last few years, particularly since COVID, have gone up at a faster rate than house prices. So the imbalance there, and so the viability, if a site's not viable, it's not going to happen. It won't come forward. So trying to balance out those costs and helps address that, I think would be really beneficial.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think, again, going back to that controlled environment, you can create less waste, right? The average job site in the United States has 30% waste on every house in a dumpster.
34% UK.
Yeah.
1,600 pounds of value of materials in a skip on average in the UK.
Right.
And I'm confident one.
To Ben at forwardsolutionsgroup.com.
All right. Thank you to all our supporting members. We can't do any or all of this without all of you out there. Today we are in the United Kingdom. That's right, folks. And we have the same problems here as we do in other parts of the world. Sitting with me today, I want to introduce everybody around the table if we can. We have Brian Murphy sitting next to me, sustainability expert, carbon expert, and healthy homes expert. And you do some of the largest projects and consult people around the world. We got Steve Baker, director of Home Addicts, right, with a very large political background and a history, and that truly cares about home building. We got our good friend over here, Roger Lewis, and one of the reasons we're here with Home Addicts, Roger's the brainchild about all of these things that we're doing when it comes to how do we finance homes, how do we give more money back to the consumer, how do we give them a better product and a faster product to move into, because we have a shortage in housing, and literally, seriously, just picked him up off the street. We have, he's not lying. We got Matt Bagg, who is in product development his whole life, and he's done everything from modular housing through some of the biggest super bike manufacturing in the world, right?
Superbike was a brand, but motorcycle, electric bikes, yes.
Right.
Manufacturing.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a roundtable discussion. It's going to be free form. It's going to be open. It's meant to have dialogue and have fun, but we have time limits, gentlemen, right? So keep your answers what they are. We're going to start off with the waste challenge. I mentioned it in my opening monologue. That 30 to 40% is a big number. Brian, what's your thoughts on how we're handling the waste in the construction industry?
We don't. It's always somebody else's expense, so we just chuck it in the skip. Some of the bigger companies had a go. We had some legislation for a while. They thought we got it sorted. They then dropped the legislation, and we're back to worse figures than we were before. 78 million down, and then back up to 120 million tons a year.
120 million tons a year.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but it sounds like the size of a planet to me.
Yeah, it's like Wembley Stadium a few times over a year.
Just on waste from new home construction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's absolutely shocking, isn't it? I mean, we wouldn't tolerate this in any other field of human endeavour. And in the end, surely the customer's paying for it. Yeah. And it's a scandalous waste of materials. I think we'll look back one day and be amazed we ever built homes like this in the 21st century. It's really inexcusable.
It is inexcusable. Every other industry would burn up and close if they had that much waste in their production and building.
Yeah.
Roger.
As a developer, I've seen pallets of bricks in holes on building sites on my dime or on my dollar, and it never pleases me.
No.
So, yeah, I'm all for getting a grip on the waste.
Well, and it was your passion that started bringing all this technology together, really looking at the industry. And we're going to jump into that in a little bit. All right, Matt, from an industry expert from the outside looking in, what's your thoughts on
it was very interesting, because my experience of this is the guys were taking the stuff home, and they were then putting it in their sheds and building sheds from the because nobody could believe it. 120 million tons. Yeah. That 120 million tons then needs to be transported off-site. So then you've got the logistics of doing that, you've got the carbon of doing that, and would it be right to say that 120 million tons is all recyclable?
Mostly is. Yeah. Today, it's significantly recycled.
What couldn't be recycled?
Well, there's an enormous amount. I mean, asbestos and the likes.
Okay, but that's not in a new build, right?
No, but there's plenty of it about.
Okay, so we're talking about the whole industry as a whole with regards to renovation as well as new builds.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it starts at where the product begins, even to that extent. I think Brian, you could elaborate deeply on that. But we got to look at the whole life cycle of the industry, right? One thing that every other industry out there does better than us is they look at data. And then they use that data to make wise decisions to increase their efficiency, to increase how they're building, what the consumer wants. Our industry lacks, like, way behind. I mean, like centuries behind. I mean, we're behind agriculture when it comes to efficiency and technology, for sure.
I mean, we're going to turn this on its head at Homematics. So even just starting with the configurator, right now we've got customers out there configuring homes to show us what they would like. We'll use that data to inform what we commission, inform the supply chains and so on. So we're turning this on its head by building to order. That reverses the usual order of things, and we think that will be a revolution in home building and homemaking. By, of course, using off-site manufacturing, will drive up quality, drive up efficiency, and drive down waste. So we're really proud of what we're doing. It's Roger's brainchild, as you say, but I'm incredibly proud to get involved.
So you mentioned just in time, Dave, and so obviously time, labour is expensive.
The other thing's very expensive is finance. So if you can collapse that time that you're on site, collapse the time so just in time, the supply chain, and you save time by not actually accepting what's known as failure demand. So failure demand is the whole operational apparatus you have to put out, dealing with stuff that should have been done right first time. So I go on till I'm blue in the face. So measure twice and cut once, and that's really it in a nutshell. You know, modern methods of construction, supply chain management. It can be really just collapsed down into that one. So measure twice and cut once, and pay half.
Yeah, it's, you know what, Roger saying that reminds me, every other industry would be really obsessive about lean and the 7 wastes and cutting out those wastes. And as soon as Brian talked about 120 million tons, it's obvious that we're not in construction. And it's crazy.
And the whole lean approach has been so badly interpreted in the construction industry. They get a team of guys, they have a whole palette of materials, they have a house to build. They come in, they work with those materials, they finish it, they move on to the next one, they do that, but they leave materials behind, and they all go in the skip. Instead of putting them into the next house, ready for those to go in there, that's lean approach in construction.
Exactly.
And I talk about just in time. In the construction industry, it's just in case. We deliver it far too soon, we leave it out in the rain, and then it's wrecked, ruined, can't be used, they have to buy in some more.
So we're pointing out all the problems of the industry. We look at manufacturing and housing. It's been around for a long time. Modular's been around for a long time, right? And one of the problems that we're seeing is, all right, we know we have to do this. We know we have to change. How do you integrate new technology, new ideas, like you guys started talking about, into systems that are already pre-existing, to where the margins are so small that when they don't want to shut down manufacturing to integrate new equipment, new robotics, new technology, how do they do it? Because if they shut down their line, they shut down their production. And when they shut down production, that means people get furloughed, right? Is there a way to start integrating technology to where it can enhance what they already have and you grow into the system so we can keep production up in the industry?
Well, you answered this earlier, didn't you?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I did. Yes, no, we're live. No, we're live. Yes, you run it in parallel. But if we just go back to what you're saying, because first of all, we need to look at what the initial problem is. You were talking about data. You're talking about logistics, about taking it to the next site. Roger, you're talking about measure once, measure twice, which is to put everything into a system. The system is a CRM. We need a customer relationship management system. And if we look at customer relationship management systems, the biggest thing that we're missing right now is AI. If we introduce AI, we can then streamline everything that we're talking about. AI can make the calculations that you're missing. Obviously, it's not perfect at the moment. I work with AI. I go across 3 different AI models. So when you go across 3 of them, you can take the information from all 3, and then you will come out with something that's accurate, as long as you understand your subject, you understand what you're looking at. But for me, my experience in manufacturing, in volume manufacturing, is data, and that goes into a CRM system. That CRM system has to go from the factory to the end user. So when the end user has an issue with whatever it is, when on site, when they have an issue, whatever it is, that data goes immediately back to the manufacturer, and you're not waiting for a finished product. And like Roger says, with regards to development finance, if we're borrowing on 8 to 12% on development finance, and you're suddenly going over on time, you're going over on materials, everything becomes a disaster. If you then look at the warranty issues, we then go into insurance. If we have an issue with if it's something that in the manufacturing process it doesn't have the durability, and then we're having a failure, what you don't want is, by the time the end user keeps complaining to somebody who's in telesales that isn't picking up the phone, by the time that it gets back to what you're talking about now, which is the assembly line, it's too late. It's too inefficient. So for me, the answer to that question is CRM systems, and now artificial intelligence. Why wouldn't we use that?
No, and I see that happening, right? So you got the CRM, you got your ERP systems, all this stuff that actually flows through the manufacturing environment. And as manufacturing actually starts picking up and there's more robotics integrated, right, the data has to be able to take a plan design and a description, put it into the production line, and be able to do that seamlessly all the way through, right? To date, there's very few products out there that have done that, you know, but the end-to-end that we really need is the finance side's a big deal, all the way through the data collection, the CRM, the ERPs, the information that feeds the robotics and the line. So when it comes out the other end of that production line, it's ready to go to a customer and be put in place. And I think that's one of the things that we're really struggling in with the issue. And Roger, you've seen this, right?
Yeah.
And you've seen the inefficiency in that.
Yeah. It's communication, isn't it, really? So whether it's in a computer.
Make sure you go to our channel, check us out. We really appreciate you joining us today. Big round of applause for our stellar panel. Yeah, we have a bit of a crowd back here. I'm starting to like this whole UK visit. This is fun.
Well, we love you.
Welcome,
Yeah,
Dave.
I love
Welcome.
it. All right, everybody. Listen, thank you for joining me today. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching. What an amazing show. Thank you to all of our sponsors for helping us to continue to bring all of these innovative conversations to all of you out there. Please visit them, see what they have to offer you, and as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel and ring that bell. It would mean the world to us. I'm Dave Cooper. Thanks for watching.